Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're doing well. Today we're doing another tactical masterclass. This one is the art of counter-attacking football. Without a doubt, one of the most thrilling and effective strategies in football. We're going to look at the key principles, put them all together and create a tactic in Football Manager that will allow you to set up a lethal counter-attacking tactic. Let's go. So let's start with the first question, and it's going to be a basic one, but what is counter-attacking football? And in its essence, it's about three areas: absorbing the pressure, staying defensively solid, and hitting the teams quickly when they lose the ball. This is definitely not a case of chasing possession stats and dominating the ball. It's about efficiency. When you execute it right, it's about getting from A to B, from your goal to their goal, in the least amount of passes possible, the quickest amount of time as possible, creating those high quality chances. So let's take a deeper dive into those three principal areas now, starting off with the first one, defensive solidarity. So the first element of counter-attacking football is being defensively solid and staying compact in defense. Now previously we had a video on the channel, the defensive masterclass. We could almost take that back four that we created and use that in this defensive counter-attacking system. But there's a lot more we can do within the tactic screen to adapt that tactic. So I'll tell you what we'll do now. We'll take that first principle and we'll start to embed it within a tactic. And that all starts in the tactic screen. Now Football Manager is really good at giving us lots of little presets, and there are two for counter-attacking: fluid, which is probably not the most essential and effective form of counter-attacking football, and direct counter-attack, which is definitely fast, straightforward, in your faces. Let's go for it. And Football Manager suggests a 4-4-2, 4-3-3 or 5-2-3, and it is the latter that we are going to use as our base today to create a tactic. Quick caveat: everything you're going to see putting this tactic together is not me telling you this is the world's best tactic. I always say this because they never are the best tactics. It will teach you the principles that you can pull snippets out of and apply to your own tactics. At the end of this, I'll put this as the download link as the final counter-attacking tactic you can try out. I'm not going to tell you you're going to win the league. It will just teach you how to put in the principles. So as mentioned, we're starting with point number one of the three principles of counter-attacking, which is defensive solidity. Now let's start with the team instructions that we're going to apply to this back four, and mainly it's going to be out of possession. So we've got a low defensive line, which is perfect. The low defensive line will allow us to invite pressure, but also make sure we're not leaving gaps in behind. I think if we went to much lower, it's going to be far too defensive. So we're going to stick for lower for now. And in front, we are going to go for a low block. Now you may think with counter-attacking football they need to be up there, but in reality what we're doing is creating space behind the opposition and inviting the pressure. So we want them in this half of the pitch, and then we will use a few of our fantastic skill sets to get up the pitch very quickly in the counter-attacking style. So that is exactly what we want for the defensive shape. Now next up is trigger and press. Now counter-attacking football, you do a lot of pressing because you want to win the ball back quickly and then move forward fast, but we're going to do that a little different. We're going to remove the trigger press and just leave it as standard from a team perspective, and we're going to look at it more from an individual perspective, pressing in the right areas and allowing those individuals who need to counterattack fast the freedom to do so. We're also asking them to drop off more, which Football Manager has automatically done for me, which is perfect because once again we want to make sure there's no space in behind and invite that pressure. So we're going to drop off and allow it to come towards us. And I'm going to leave get stuck in to start with. I'm on the fence with this one, I'll be honest, and as we go into it I'll say why, but we'll leave it in there just for now because we do want to win the ball back quickly, but again I want to do it in a structured way, so we'll see how this one goes. And then the final two we're going to leave for now, okay? So let's come out of there as the out of possession for our central defenders, and we are going to change a few things. First of all, the goalkeeper we're not going to touch because a sweeper keeper on defend is perfect. If you read the description, it does say that they will sweep up balls in front of and wide of the penalty area and initiate counter-attacking moves with direct balls through to breaking players. Perfect. That is literally what we want them to do. We don't need to mess with any of these, but we'll ease off tackles and ask him to take fewer risks because I do want him to make those sweeping long balls forward, and click on OK. And that is our goalkeeper sorted. In front of that, two of these positions are changing, and that's going to be the central defender on defend. What we want is a ball playing defender because they're encouraged to launch defense splitting through balls from deep to generate counter-attacking opportunities. I understand why they put the central defender because it is more safer, should we say. But from the point of view of what we're doing, I want to go for ball playing defender. And then what we're going to do tweaking with the individuals is ask them not to press, ease off tackles, because one thing, if you don't know, player instructions will always override the team instructions. So if I'm asking this player to ease off tackles and I'm asking the team to tackle harder, ease off tackles will override the team instruction. Hope that makes sense. So we're going to control it through this method. We are going to ask them to mark a specific position, which I'll come to later down the line. But for now, we're just going to leave it off because I'll do that as a team basis. They're not going to stay wider. They're going to stay solid, the three of them, and they're going to pass direct to, again, speed up the process from defense to attack. And we're going to dribble less, shoot less often. All I want you to do is pass the ball and get it out of there. So that ball playing defender, we're going to mirror that on this side. Done. And then the last one is the no-nonsense centre-back on cover. And do you know what? This is perfect. I really like this role. And again, we'll not press. We're not going to ask them to tackle harder. We are going to ask them to hold position because they're just going to sit right at the back and do nothing. And more direct passing is already on for that centre back. So this is the perfect back three, or back four if you will, for our counter-attacking principles. Number one, defensive solidity. I hope that makes sense. And if you've got any comments in it so far, pop it down below. Let me know if you would try something different with that back three. But we're building this together and hopefully you're on board so far. We're going to move on to number two next, and that is the quick transitions. So the quick transitions, obviously, when we win the ball back, it's about moving forward fast. And that means we'll need players with great off-the-ball movement, high decision making, and we're going to tweak some team instructions to suit that now. But to start with, let's go into the in transition. So we just won the ball back, and there's a few things we need to change here. Number one, counter is obviously staying. We've won the ball, we're going to go forward quickly, and the goalkeeper in possession is definitely going to distribute quickly. As soon as he's got the ball, it's going. But for when we've lost the ball, we are going to ask the boys to regroup. This goes against a lot of the high-performing tactics out there. Counter-pressing works too well in Football Manager, but by regrouping, it just helps us tick another box for number one, the defensive solidity. So quick transitions, we counter, we distribute quickly, and up here we're going to go for take long kicks. And here's a good one for you, distribute over opposition defense. So we've soaked in the pressure, and we're just going to smash it long. So we could choose distribute to position to choose one of the boys up top, but the reality is I'd rather put it in an area that they're all going to be in, which allows it to give the goalkeeper a bit more options. So for the quick transitions, we're looking at these four people in the middle of the park. These are going to be the guys that are more likely going to win the ball, the pressers of the team, and they're going to hit the ball forward. Our back three are there to mop up all the mess. So in the middle of the park, I do kind of like what Football Manager have done. We do need a playmaking player and then a warrior, somebody who's going to smash people. So there are options for the warrior, and the obvious one is the ball winning midfielder on defend. But what you find with this one is when they win the ball back, as opposed to knocking it forward as quickly as possible, they're going to look for the more creative player. So if you do put a deep line playmaker next to them, it's that one extra pass that's delaying the quick transition. Whereas you go to the support one that removes it. He's still doing his role, but he's winning the ball back higher up the pitch, resulting in counter-attacking opportunities. When defend, we don't get that. So ball winning midfielder on support is perfect. So now, because we've lost that defensive mentality, that the middle trio, both on support, I don't love, I'm going to be honest with you. So we could quite easily go for a deep line playmaker on defend to give us a bit more assurance at the back. And remember now, this is our playmaking element of the midfield pairing. So there are a few options we have here. Deep line playmaker on defend. It will fulfill extra defensive responsibilities by holding their position in front of the defense and rarely look to support attacks. And I'm fine with that. I don't want them to get up the pitch. I want them to pass the ball up the pitch. And if we take a closer look within the deep line playmaker, it does say they initiate attacking moves via pinpoint passes to players positioned higher up the pitch. And this is where a playmaker is key. We could, in essence, throw in a roaming playmaker, but there's no defensive mentality with that one. You also have the regista, which is almost like the aggressive version of a deep line playmaker, and it's perfect for maintaining intense pressure by constantly looking for new chances as his more advanced teammates get into goal scoring opportunities. So it's a great role, but I'm going to stick with the deep line playmaker on defend. And as mentioned before, this is the area of the pitch where we win the ball back. So we are going to be pressing more often, marking tighter, tackling harder, and we will be marked in a specific position, but not just yet. And they are definitely going to take more risks because I want those to be passing the ball long. We'll lose a lot of possession, and this tactic isn't about that. It's about quick breaks to score goals. So that is it for the deep line playmaker on defend. Alongside him, we've got a ball-winning midfielder on support. Now for him, we're going to ask him to mark tighter. He's already going to tackle harder. We will ask him to mark specific players. Holding position, yes, I think we are. We're going to ask him to sit in front of them and stay central and dribble less, shoot less often, and take more risks, please. And that is our midfield duo sorted for counter-attacking football. Aside that, these are essential roles. Wing-back support on either side currently. We've got three options, and a complete wing-back is a brilliant role, but it's one that's not going to work. Quite simply, they're going to be too far up the pitch, and if we are playing a defensive team, for example, their defensive line is going to be further back because the complete wing-back is pushing them further up the pitch. So that's not going to work for us. But the wing-back role is the one that is perfect for this, and again, Football Manager's put down wing-back support as the perfect setup, but really what we're looking at is more defense. So if he's on support, they are going to get further forward. I don't want that from my wing backs. I want to keep their wingers, their midfielders on the right, on the left, for example, high up the pitch. If our wing backs are pushing far up, the likelihood is their defensive line is going to drop. I want to encourage that pressure, make sure our wing backs are a defensive line, so their attackers are far up the pitch, allowing then our wingers and strikers to strike. So we're going to keep them not going further forward in defend. We are going to ask them to trigger press often, mark tighter, tackle harder as usual for that line, the wall of smashing people. And for the wider and sit narrow, we're going to leave for now because of course there's going to be an element of tweaking with this tactic. They're going to dribble less, they're going to shoot less often. And in terms of crossing, now I don't really want... We're not going to be a crossing team, but I suppose if we've got the ball, I'm going to go more often just to see if they are in there, because you cross the ball, it's a quicker way of getting the ball from A to B. So we'll go for more often and we'll hit OK, and that's going to be our wing back on defend, and we're going to duplicate that on this side. Job done. So there is our back four, and if you look at it, it is defensive. You're probably thinking too defensive, but a counter-attacking tactic is quite defensive. This is where it starts. You soak it all in, and then the boys at the pitch do all the work, which takes us nicely into point 3 of the principles, which is attacking with pace. So speed is the key in counterattacks. Your wingers and the striker need to be quick, aggressive, direct. We want them to exploit the space that's left behind by the opposition. So again, by absorbing all this, space. We've got all the space we're going to run into. And to do that, we're going to tweak a few things in the team instructions to start with in possession. And the first thing is going to be tempo. Football Manager, give us a slightly higher tempo. Give me all the tempo, please, as quick as possible. Now, passing direct, we're going to tweak this one. More direct is the one the Football Manager suggests. We're going to start with extremely direct. Again, it's instructing players to play the furthest forward pass with increased urgency. We'll see how it goes. My gut feeling is it needs to sit around here. Because we're asking them individually to play direct, this doesn't really matter that much. So we'll see how it sits. We might even go back to standard, but we're going to start with the extreme just to see how that goes. And whilst we're in here, we're going to start with the attacking width. We need to go extremely wide. We need to stretch the play. The wide players need to stretch the play and be out wide here to ensure that when we do attack, we're in the places where the space is. And that's why I've got these wing backs on defense, so they're not up here muddying the waters of these wingers. Now the next thing is pass into space. Where those players are going to be to start with, we want the ball played in behind and the teammates to run onto. That's going to be perfect for us for the counter-attacking. And where we're going to focus the play is genuinely going to be almost on an individual basis, the team we're coming up against. If they're a central formation, we're going to focus the play down the right and the left. If they're a wide formation, we can underlap left and right. There's options we have here. So I'm going to leave that blank to start with, and we'll tweak for the first couple of games. We're going to do on camera together so you can see exactly what does work and more importantly, what doesn't work. The next element is dribbling less. I don't want people running. I want the ball to be played as quickly as possible. And for the creative freedom, I want them to be disciplined. This is going to be a team approach defensively. I don't want players being expressive and running whatever they want. So more disciplined, 100%. And then the final one we're going to do here is hitting the early crosses. So if our wingers are getting the ball in this position out wide on the right and the left hand side, and the striker is breaking through a pace. I want to get that ball into him as quick as possible. Once again, assisting the counter-attacking mentality. And we're going to go for whipped crosses. It's going to come in with pace, swerve and dip as fast as we possibly can. I think if we're floating them in there, it's a bit slow, it's a bit laboured. Let's get the ball in quickly. So what we've done now with that third point is we've finished our team instructions. Cautious mentality, in possession is sorted, in transition is sorted, and out of possession is sorted. There's quite a few there, but they all work harmoniously with each other. The next element is looking at the players up top, and the roles we've got at the moment are going to change slightly. So let's start with the wingers out wide. We've got an inside forward on attack and an inverted winger on support. So we are going to keep them different, inside forward attack and inverted winger on support, but we are going to tweak them a little bit. So that on one side, it depends how your tactic plays out with the team you've got. So there's a few roles here that work really well, and believe it or not, there are some curveball. Now a trequartista is almost perfect for counter-attacking, because when we are defending, all they're doing is drifting around looking for space when we're not in possession. So as soon as we've got the ball, effectively we've got an outlet with the trequartista on attack. And I think we're going to start this one. We'll try the left to start with to see how that works and get him to hug in a bit. Yeah, we'll go for that one. As a curveball, again, that might be a tweak. And on the right-hand side, we're going to try another curveball. A ramdeute, which I rarely use, but it is a space investigator. So the two players who are going to be up top, aside from the striker, when we win the ball back, they're going to be in space in attacking positions of the pitch. So let's go for him, and now we're going to look at the individual instructions for each, starting with the trek on the left hand side. We're going to ask them to stay wider. That's going to be essential for this tactic, the width and the options out wide. So he is going to be hovering around, roaming from position out wide, finding space. No pressing for this lad. He's going to float around waiting for the ball to land at his feet, and we're going to ask him to run wide with the ball, again to create that space, and then to cross the ball more often and deep as quick as you can to the striker. And that's it. He's got space, he's going to stay wide, he's going to run wide with the ball and cross the ball in. That is all I want from him out wide. The ramdeute is going to be a little bit different because they are hard-coded to sit narrower. We can't remove that, and we can't ask him not to get further forward. So he is going to sit more almost in this position. And I don't mind that, because if the trek is out wide doing the work, then potentially we've got two strikers in that position. So due to the nature of this role and where they're likely to drift into, they could be honestly here, anywhere. So I think what I need them to do first of all is to dribble more, to get into a place on the pitch where they can do some damage, take more risk, so they're going to play the riskier passes, which I want them to do. And I am going to ask them to shoot less often, and this will speed up the ball movement, getting it up to the top player. So I'll click on OK, and these are our very curveball rows. Certainly not the rows I started off today thinking, but they do make sense the longer we go through it. Give me 5 minutes and they'll both be wingers, but still. And that leaves us one player up top, our striker, and this is an integral role because they need to be ready for all this work to come through those and to be put in the back of the net. Now there's two roles here. Let's start with the pressing forward on attack, which is a great one because we are defending from the front, but I don't want him to be pulled out of position too much by running around like a headless chicken. And I don't mind the defenders smashing the ball forward. So the striker for me, it doesn't need to be a pressing forward. The one role that jumps out to me immediately is poacher on attack, and that is for quite simply one reason, and is this line here. The poacher sits on the shoulder of the last defender looking to break the defensive line and run onto through balls from midfield. No other position has that. Even the advanced forward, which is a very attacking mentality, they're involved in a lot more. A poacher on attack, he's just got one job, and that is to sit there to break through the line. So we're going to come into here and edit his final areas. We don't want him to press at all. Ease off tackles, just stay up there. Don't get out of position at all. I don't really want him to move into channels, although it is a nice way to find space. So potentially we'll try that as a starter, and he is going to shoot more often. Get the ball in the back of the net, please. So that's it. We've created our first counter-attacking tactic in Football Manager 24. And we've done that using the three principles: defensive solidity, quick transitions, and then pace in attack. Now, obviously, you need the players to be able to do that. So we're going to run through some of the key attributes for the three areas: defense, midfield, and attack, what you need from your players in order to play counter-attacking football. So as mentioned, we are Man City, and if I just come out here and choose quick pick the first 11 they're going to throw in here. It's an updated database. Gundogan is back in the club. These players they've suggested may very well not be the perfect ones that we need for this tactic. So let's start with a goalkeeper. We need quick distribution, good reflexes, and a player who's going to hit the ball nice and early. And let's be honest, Ederson is the perfect one with kicking 20, passing of 18, throwing of 17, and decent agility for a goalkeeper as well. Ederson is the perfect sweeper keeper to get the ball up quickly. Moving into defence, we need good positioning, anticipation, tackling, and that's perfect for a no-nonsense centre-back, which we've got Akanji put in there. I don't know if he is the best one for us. Anticipation 15, decisions of 13, tackling of 16. Like he's a brilliant defender, don't get me wrong, but I'm thinking there might be a bit better in the centre here, and that could be Diaz, who is probably the more out-and-out defender there. Anticipation 17, decisions 15, and tackling 18. Absolute worldie of a defender, to be fair, and I don't mind him being in there. Passing of 14, he's not the best ball playing defender, but as a no nonsense centre back he is superb. And then either side of him are the ball playing defenders, and Aki does strike me as an incredibly good ball playing defender. He's left footed, which suits this to get the ball out quickly. Passing of 14, vision of 13, which is good for a centre back, and we still got the anticipation, decision making and tackling required for a centre back. But just to check, the alternatives potentially could be John Stones or maybe Gvardiol, but we'll leave him out in the wide for now. So Akanji was the no nonsense with passing of 13, better agility. He is also right-footed, so he is a very good ball-playing defender out on that side. So I'm really happy with that 3 at the back there. In front of that is where things get interesting. So, as mentioned, we almost need the nasty one in the middle of the park, the workhorse. Somebody's going to go in there and win the ball, and then we need the creator, and that's what we've got in Kovacic and Gundogan. Now, a deep line playmaker, it needs to be somebody not so much with the physical attributes, because I'm not asking them to do a lot. It's more of the technicals and certainly the mentals. So vision of 15, passing of 14, composure of 18. That's a huge one for this role. So maybe Kovacic isn't the best one for this deep line playmaker role. Rodri is obviously injured as things stand. He would be perfect for that role, but as is potentially Gundogan, to be fair. In that ball-winning midfielder role, I wouldn't strike him, but in the deep line playmaker on defend, if we look at his first touch, passing, positioning, and as mentioned before, composure 16. Gundogan is our boy. Deep line playmaker with a passing vision up there. I really like him in that position. And as the ball winning midfielder, we may need to look at Nunes, because Kovacic as the ball winning midfielder I think is lacking in some areas. Tackling 15, anticipation 16. Do you know what? I take it back. Defensively, he's a very good player. But let's take a look at Nunes anyway on support. Marking a 9, 13. Yeah. I think Kovacic, I take it back, mate. You are a very good ball-winning midfielder. So in you go. Now, out wide, defensively solid and quick. Walker ticks that box without even looking at him. He is fast as hell. And as a wing-back on defend, it is his favoured role because he's very good defensively. And I'm not asking him a lot in this role going forward. So really happy with Kyle Walker in that position. Gvardiol on the other side. Once again, he is incredible as a wing-back. On defend, great. I mean, what a player this guy is. And we do have some nice traits here as well. We've got long range passes, which I'm happy for him to do, to hit the ball up there as quickly as possible. Now, as we come up top, I mentioned pace. Now, the players we suggested here aren't the quickest. Now, Silva is a wonderful footballer, but 14 pace and 15 acceleration isn't what I want from a wide attacking player. We need somebody with a lot more pace up top. And the options we have are Doku, who is crazy fast, Phil Foden, Jack Grealish, even Nunes potentially, and KDB is out injured for a few weeks. Foden with a pace of 16 and 16 is very good. He's a lot quicker indeed. And Doku with his pace, well, he's even faster again, isn't he? And he does suit this tactic rather well. Good dribbling. If you remember, we're asking the Ramdeuter to dribble more because he's a bit further south. His decision making isn't great, which does let me down a bit, but the crossing ability, the passing is okay. Doku is fast, but he's got some gaps in his game. But we're going to start him out there ahead of Bernardo Silva for now. And then Foden has that trek. I can't really complain. I think he's got all the skills and the attributes to do that role incredibly well. Passing, vision, and decent pace, to be fair. I think he's going to be a great one. And being left-footed out here to whip the ball in. And Ramdeuter, as we mentioned, is going to be more central. And Doku, if I remember, is left-footed. He is indeed, no, right-footed, but he's very good on his left also. So he's going to be cutting inside, which leaves us one player, Haaland, one of the fastest players, 17, pace 19. Mate, just go and score some goals, please. So the best part about creating a tactic is to put the theory in place, and then it's to put into practice when it all falls apart and nothing works and you change everything. That's the stage right now. So I'm going to go into some games. I'll show you some highlights of how the counter-attacking football is working, and then any tweaks I make will explain in a few minutes. Fingers crossed this works. So to do some testing, I've simmed through the 6 friendlies. We're going to ignore the second 11 because that's just a walk in the park. And out of the 5 games, it's done incredibly well. I looked at the Watford game, and to be fair, even though we won 5-1, it was very much a game of counter-attacking football. The game was balanced, there was less possession by us, the passes weren't great, but when we had our chances, we definitely took them. 5-1, everybody played well. Kovacic, as a ball-winning midfielder, lost the ball so many times. So I'm not surprised at 6.8. The following games, we came up against Blackburn, won that one 2-0. That was a bit more of a dominated game, to be fair. But still, average possession, passes down 85%. We'll take a look at some goals after we've looked at the results, just to look at the stats a bit more. Went up against Hamburg 3-1. They were the better team looking at it. More shots than us. Possession, we had less, and passing 84%, which isn't too bad, to be fair. But again, it's out of the 5 shots on target and the XG of 1.17, we are smashing our XG so far. Benfica, a good team, beat them 3-1. Again, pretty average game. 36% possession, 85%, XG of 1.65, and we got 3 goals. Definitely overperforms, I want to say. And Freiburg, 1-0 away from home. They better than us. We had 1 shot on target, which we scored. Low XG, low passing. So defensively, it is solid. We've only conceded a handful of goals, but we are winning games convincingly. Let's see if any of these are particularly counter-attacking goals. So the first game that definitely proves we got some counter-attacking goals is the one against Hamburg, and these goals are brilliant. We win the ball from relatively deep. Haaland, route 1 to Grealish, puts us 1-0 up. Great counter-attacking at pace. The second goal, Gundogan goes direct out to Bernardo Silva, brings it down, cuts inside. First time early cross to Haaland. 2-0. Again, 2 passes from the centre spot to the back of the net. This is us conceding. We're defending deep. Is a decent team, and to be fair, cracking goal. And this one is proper counter-attacking football. Goal number 3 for us. Ball over the top to Haaland. Unlucky here not to get through, but the ball comes back to him. Nice. 3 proper counter-attacking goals there from Manchester City. We also got a pretty good counter-attacking goal here. Again, from the centre spot, we've got him on dribble more. 2 passes, back of the net. It's that quick transition to get in the back of the goal against a team that, quite frankly, did very well against us. Our first goal against Blackburn, as you can see, the ball comes up here. We win it. 1 ball out to Bernardo. Cuts inside to Haaland. It's a goal. It's not the tiki-taka football you want. It's very direct, this tactic indeed. So quite a lot of these goals scored were very much counter-attacking goals. You can see we've used the same formation. In terms of the tactic, we've not tweaked it. And I'm going to test this with a lower team because counter-attacking doesn't necessarily suit a team of Manchester City's calibre. But the next game, we go into the Community Shield against Manchester United, which is a proper challenge. We're going to look at this one a bit closer, check out the data, check out the analytics, just to see how each position is performing and if we can improve it. So before the game, this is the area I mentioned when we're going to start pressing on an individual basis, and it's quite frankly because of the tactic we're up against. I don't want to press willy-nilly, I want to press smartly. So it's all due to opposition instructions. So when we come into the team instructions and we go to opposition, it will allow us to look at who we're playing against, think about the tactic that we're playing, and how we're going to really press these in a smart way. And FYI, that's not in this area. This just gives us an idea of who we're going to do. So Anthony and Rashford are on either wing. So come back into overview. Let's go into Guardiola. Let's edit, mark specific player, and of course, on his side is going to be Anthony. Come out of there. Walker on the other side is going to be marking Rashford because, of course, he's on the left-hand side. So in theory, those two are nullified-ish because we're going to be marking them man-to-man. Xerxes, I'm not going to worry about. I got 3 centre-backs there who are going to look after him, no problem at all. Now, in the middle of the park, there's 3 against 2, which makes me think that these 2 boys are going to be outnumbered. So I'm not going to tell them to man-mark anybody because we will end up with a 2-on-1 situation. De Bruyne is back from injury, so he's going to slot back in as the DLP defend, which he doesn't suit. But let's give it a go and see how the tactic works as a whole. We're simulating it, so let's see together how we get off, if we can pick up our first trophy as a counter-attacking team. And we can. 2-0, clean sheet. To be fair, we were the better team. They didn't get a single shot on target, which shows how defensively solid we are. Possession-wise, they destroyed us. 80% passes completed and a low XG. Let's take a look at the goals, shall we? Our fingers crossed they're a little bit counter-attacking. So we win the ball back from deep. One ball over the top to Haaland. He's through. Oh, what a finish, son. That is a brilliant counter-attacking goal. 81st minute. We win the ball from deep. Gundogan, Bernardo, ball over the top. Oh, I love this tactic. It is so direct. Look, all you want, Lino. That was onside. So let's look into this with a bit more detail, shall we? So analytical data. In terms of the shape of the tactic, as we are defending so much, and you are going to get a lot of clean sheets with this tactic, we've got a back five. And let's not forget the two wing backs here are man marking Rashford and Anthony, which, out of interest, how did they do ratings-wise? No goals, 2 shots by Anthony, nothing from Rashford whatsoever. So he's been incredibly inactive. In terms of their rating, we're looking at a 6.2 and a 5.9. We played him off the park, to be fair. Well done, boys. Great defending. And Gvardiol with a 7.3 and Walker with a 7.7 up against Rashford. Outstanding. Coming back into the analytical data. Again, the heat map is lovely. The 2 boys in the middle of the park. And look, the 3 are up top. And I know that the Trek and the Ramdeuter are proper curveballs, but they do find space. And where they are up here, if you think of the lines of the wing backs, the centre backs, they're very much in the channels, which is bloody perfect for me. And 8 progressive passes by Gundogan is outstanding. Another interesting stat is movement, which basically looks at dribbling. Not many at all. You think over 90 minutes how many people actually dribble? We've had very few whatsoever. I think Bernardo Silva and Foden, where the 2 I want to dribble, they're the ones actually doing it. The rest of the one are just passing the ball. Fantastic. If you look at the average position on the pitch, particularly the front 2, Silva, Foden and Haaland, that's where they are. They're not coming back into that half. And that is, of course, with the ball. They're staying up there. Without the ball, again, they're staying in their half, which I bloody love, to be fair. And if we look at the defenders, so without the ball, I'm presuming we've got a lovely back 5. Look at that for a shape. And then when we've got the ball, they shouldn't really be moving much at all, which they're not. Instead of our wing backs shooting forward, they give the ball up, and really the boys up front are doing all the work. And then the centre of the park, without the ball, 2 of them very compact in the centre, and then with the ball, once again hardly moving, simply because we're giving the ball forward to the 3 pacey boys up top. Looking further into the analytics, we can look at the passes made in the game for Manchester City, and just to see if they are that direct, that we're not playing tiki-taka passer, which we're not. We only completed 323 passes, which is nothing if you think of it. 21 of those were intercepted, which if you look at them, they're all hoofballs, aren't they? Which is perfect. Even Ederson hitting along. I like the fact that we got Gvardiol playing the ball through. This brilliant pass for Silva straight through. It's what I want. It's fantastic. 1 shot was blocked. 49 were unsuccessful. Again, look at them. There's no tiki-taka. They're all long balls. 5 of them are gone out of play long balls. 7 of them are key passes. And that is all around the box. And you can see balls coming in. I love the fact that we got the balls coming through. And these are genuinely the ones we're scoring from. And the chances are created. So I'm going to chalk that down as a big old success, to be fair. And from a tactical perspective, I'm not going to change a single thing. There are a few things that I potentially would. This ball-winning midfielder support, I don't love. Nobody's really getting a good rating in the centre of midfield. And I think that's simply because of the passing. They're not getting high percentage passing, which isn't going to happen in this tactic. If you can live with that, you can live with the tactic. Let's test this with a lesser team, I think. And that club we're going to test it with is Bournemouth. Bournemouth are predicted to finish, I want to say 17th in the league this season. Season preview, 15th, 450 to 1. Anything above that is a bonus. Okay, quick test with Bournemouth, and it's been a very similar start. Goals galore, we're doing very well. 5-3, 2-3, and 0 goals conceded. Admittedly, not some massive teams, but it's all about the goals we're scoring. Admiral Vaca modelling, we were the dominant team, winning that one 3-1. And to be fair, it looks good. Let's see if there's any counter-attacking goals at all within pre-season. And there's certainly a few. The first goal against Admiral Vaca, Cliver picks a ball up from deep, runs forward, puts a lovely ball through to Enes Unal, who finishes a great counter-attacking move. Against Carvina, we win the ball and we break down the side here. Again, just the 3 boys up top, if you notice, nobody else supporting. Smashed it. absolute smash and grab. Great goal. That was a game once again where they were the better team in terms of possession and stats, but what we did efficiently and well. Second goal against Trenchant was another example. We broke forward very quickly, ball came over, one ball back into the cross, another goal. This tactic for me at the moment is doing everything I want. Again, the only things I've tweaked are the wing backs. I put them back on defend. I did put it on support, but that wasn't working. They were in the wrong positions. We removed mark position because that was pulling them out of position. But everything here is doing everything it should. And in reality, that's where it's going to finish. I could keep tweaking until we lose the essence of this tactic, but that's not what I want to do. I'll put a download link below, but please remember, it's more the principles of counter-attacking football. Take that from this video, take any of the snippets of information throughout and apply it to your own tactic. Let me know, comments down below, if you enjoyed it. If there is another version of this masterclass tactical side of things you want to see. We've done possession, we've done defensive, and now counter-attacking. I've got one more in mind that'll come out in a few weeks' time, and that's probably going to be the pinnacle of it. But any comments, please down below, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care.